Welcome, true believers, to my tier list ranking the cameo appearances of Stan Lee, the creator of such legendary comic book characters as Spider-Man, Iron Man, Thor, Nick Fury, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Daredevil, the Incredible Hulk. This guy, he was pretty busy back in like the 60s. And though he was creating a lot of things back in the earlier part of his career, here in the later parts of his life, he was known more so for being in those Marvel movies, showing up in a lot of cameos. Today, I'm going to rank the superhero movie cameos that he showed up in. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, we have X-Men. He's getting ready to munch on this hot dog when a naked senator walks up onto the beach. Yeah, it's a bit distracting. He's nice in the background here in this one, right? And they're not really drawing attention to him. If you know who he is, you're like, oh, look, cool, Stan Lee. If you don't know who he is, it does not take anything away from it. To me, this is kind of D tier. He isn't adding anything, but it's not taking away. It's not bad or anything like that. So D tier on this one. Next up, we have Spider-Man. And in this one, he is grabbing some little girl out of the way of some falling rubble after the Green Goblin blasts a balcony up above them. It's fun to see him involved in the action and everything. Again, very quick. You don't see very much of him. I think I'll put this one in C tier. In the Daredevil cameo, he is in the origin story. Matt Murdock has already been splashed in the face with all these chemicals. He's blind and everything. And Stanley's about to walk into traffic because he's just not paying attention, reading a newspaper. But he puts his little blind stick out there and stops him, saves his life. It's a nice little reveal. I think it's a fun place to put him in relatively early in the movie and everything too. So yeah, I'm going to put this one in the B tier. Next up, we have Ang Lee's Hulk. This one is him and Lou Ferrigno teaming up. Lou Ferrigno, the guy who played the Incredible Hulk in the TV show. They are just kind of walking around talking about how they think that security should be beefed up. I think it's fun seeing him and Lou Ferrigno together in that. It's a 2-for-1. I think I'm going to put this one in that B tier, but it's going to go above Daredevil. In Spider-Man 2, we have a very similar cameo to the one he had in the first Spider-Man, where he's just grabbing someone out of the way of some falling debris. For this one, his performance isn't quite as exaggerated and crazy as it is in the first one, which I like the first one a little bit more. So I'm going to put this in C tier because, again, it's very similar, but it's going to go below the first Spider-Man. In the Fantastic Four, we have a rare occasion for Stan Lee. He is playing an actual character from the comics named Willie Lumpkin, who is a postal delivery man who delivers stuff to the Baxter building where the Fantastic Four live. So it's kind of cool that he gets to be, a character from the comics and everything. He doesn't really do much except for be like, it's good to see ya. And then Mr. Fantastic's like, thanks, Willie. And then if, again, you know what's going on, it's like, wink, isn't that cool? And if you don't know this, like, it doesn't matter. I like this. I think he looks good in the postal delivery suit. I'm going to say it right now, in the uniform. You're looking good, Stan. I'm going to put him in the B tier. X-Men The Last Stand. I don't think this one is the best use of Stan Lee. It really feels like they're like, we've got to put him somewhere, so let's just put him right here. He's watering his lawn when Jean Grey is like showing off her powers and everything, and so everything's floating. And he's like, whoa, the water's going up. It's nothing against Stan on this one, but to me, it's a waste of him. So I'm going to put him in. This is going to be F tier for me. Spider-Man 3 gets us a cameo where he gets to interact with his most prized creation, Spider-Man himself. He gets to stand next to Peter Parker and be like, well, I guess one person can make a difference. And I just think it's a really nice scene. It's very meta and everything, but I think it's a good use of Stan Lee, right? Nobody else can do that with the same kind of gravitas, right? It's not like anybody else can just show up and do that part and have it be as effective. So I'm going to put him, I think S. I think I'm going S tier for this one. I really like it. In Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, Stan Lee's trying to show up to a wedding here. He's not on the guest list. He's getting turned away, which I guess is a similar thing to what happened like in the comic books when Reed Richards and Sue Storm were getting married, which is fun to play back into that. I think it's a more humorous one, right? Without trying to go too crazy with it. But I don't know, it's not really kind of reaching any crazy heights for me. Put it top of B tier. And now we've made our way into the MCU, and he's going to show up in all of those movies until his passing. and even a little bit after that, since they had some recorded and everything. I really do miss the Stan Lee cameos since they've gone away. And, maybe that's one of the reasons why things have fallen off. We've kind of lost that guiding light. So, but anyway, let's talk about the beginning of the MCU with Iron Man. Stan Lee is mistaken for Hugh Hefner here. And pretty funny. They're both old guys. I don't know if they'd make that joke today as much. But outside of being old, though, and it just being a little joke, it doesn't do a ton. I'll put it in C tier above both of the Spider-Man. In the Incredible Hulk, he ends up drinking some soda that has been contaminated with the Hulk's blood and dying, which I think is pretty funny. I don't know. I like this one a lot. I don't think it quite kind of pulls on my heartstrings at all enough to get it up into the S tier, but I do like it enough to get it into that A tier for sure. I just want to say I took a little look at it more, and it's kind of up in the air on whether or not he died or not. Some people believe he might have been poisoned and then returned to being a watcher, which we might take a look at in a little bit. So whichever one you want to believe, either way, I think it still works. Good cameo. In Iron Man 2, we continue with mistaking him for other old people. Stan Lee gets called Larry King here, and it's true. He does look like Larry King, and because he got those suspenders on and everything. I'm going to put this one in the bottom of C tier. It isn't as funny as the Hugh Hefner one, and he doesn't get to do action like he did in the Spider-Man movies. So, in the first Thor, Stan Lee is driving a truck that's trying to pull Thor's hammer out of the ground. It's a good scene. It's very funny. I think it's a nice surprise when he pops his head out of that truck window. So this one is going to be an A tier for me. Captain America, the first Avenger, has Stan Lee being a high-ranking military official. And he's disappointed at the height of who he thinks is Captain America. It's another funny scene that plays out. Pretty good use of him. I don't know where else you'd stick him in this movie. I'll put this one in the B tier. In the Avengers, Stan Lee shows up near the end where you're getting some news reports and he's like, yeah, superheroes, blah. It's a weird role for Stan Lee to have, right? It's the very opposite of this man's whole essence. Overall, it's a kind of a throwaway one for me. I'm going to put it in D tier. I think they could have done something a little bit bigger, especially on this big team-up movie. We move into a new Spider-Man series with The Amazing Spider-Man, and this is a really good scene. Spider-Man's fighting the Lizard in his high school. Stan Lee is the librarian, doing library work while he's got headphones on, doesn't notice what's going on. It's just a really, really fun little sequence. For me, I think I could be putting this one up in that S tier. It's not like gut punch. It's not emotional really, but just really well done. And again, great use of Stan Lee. In Iron Man 3, we no longer are thinking he looks like other old celebrities. Now he's just kind of being like a little pervy guy, where he's ranking a swimsuit competition and everything. Gives that lady a 10 out of 10. I'm going to give this cameo, though, high D tier. Thor: The Dark World has him being in an old folks / mental institution. I don't know exactly if it's not just old folks, because the doctor dude, he's not old. Anyway, he's in this home where he's getting some extra help, and I don't know, it's fine. He's asked for his shoe back, and I'll put it in D tier. Captain America: The Winter Soldier gets a Stan Lee in another security guard uniform, looking fresh, looking great. This time, he's not doing a great job at security, right? Captain America and his buddies just kind of walk into this museum and take his suit. And Stan knows that he's going to be in a lot of trouble for that one.
Oh, man. I am so fired.
It plays well to the comedy that happens in these MCU movies without really kind of taking away from anything. For me, I think this one could be another A tier. In The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Stan Lee is attending graduation, and Peter Parker swings in dressed as Spider-Man. He changes real quick. Stan Lee kind of sees it happening. He's like, hey, I know that guy. It's a fun little, hey, that's true. You do know him, Stan Lee. This is going to be another C tier for me. It's going to be the bottom of that ranking even. In Guardians of the Galaxy, we get Rocket looking around at everybody with his little pad, kind of figuring out who they are and commenting on them. He does not think very highly of Stan Lee in this scene. I think it's fun when Stan Lee's cameos are funny without him necessarily doing something to be funny. So I think this one really works. I'm going to put this one in that A tier right below the Hulk. In Disney's Big Hero 6, Stan Lee shows up as Fred's dad. He seems to be a superhero, right? They share a nice, tender little father-son moment and everything. He would end up doing some voice work on the cartoon that came out after this show as well. I'm not going to count those as a cameo as much, though. But for this one, it's fine. I'm going to give it that C tier. In Avengers Age of Ultron, Stan Lee plays a World War II veteran who tries to go drink for drink with Captain America and Thor. Doesn't work out so well for him. It's another great scene that kind of just gives him a chance to be on screen and not just be like a blink and you missed it kind of thing, which I do like those a little bit more. So this one, I think I'll put that high B tier. At the end of Ant-Man, Michael Pena telling another story to Paul Rudd and everything, where it's like him narrating and everybody's doing his voice and everything. And great scene, great way to have Stan Lee show up. I'm going to put this one top of A tier. Deadpool, he's being like a DJ at a strip club. For me, it's like just kind of the contradiction of like, it's old Stan Lee doing this thing you wouldn't expect him to do, which I know is also kind of what happens in a few of the other ones, but just really, I don't know, it matches with Deadpool, right? It feels like it's fine for the movie, but if I'm ranking it along with these other ones, I think for me it's a D tier. At the end of Captain America Civil War, Stan Lee shows up as a FedEx delivery guy, and he has got a package for Tony Stank. So again, this is one of those that really stands out. I think it's very funny. I'm happy to put this one in S tier. In the movie X-Men Apocalypse, we get a scene where a bunch of like nukes are being fired off, and Stan Lee is like just solemnly holding his wife as they are contemplating their inevitable doom. What a fun moment to be like, hey, look, it's Stan Lee. I don't know. To me, it feels almost the most out of place out of any of them. I think I might have to put this one down in F tier. X-Men just don't know what to do with this guy. So I do give this one a little bit of props because, you know, it is his actual wife, Joan. In Doctor Strange, you get all the weird reality distorting stuff. So at one point, Doctor Strange smashes into the side of a bus as he's falling. We get a nice little view of Stan Lee reading a book. It's a nice little cutaway. It works fine, but, you know, to me, it's not one that I look forward to seeing. I'm going to put this one top of D tier. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. We got Stan Lee up there talking to some of the Watchers and everything. Is he a Watcher himself? Oh, well, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure there's people who feel like they know definitively, and they'll let me know in the comments. I'd love to know that. Feel free to do that. But I'm just going to say he's talking with the Watchers in that cool spacesuit. I like it when they stick him in weird costumes. I really do. I think that it's also fun that's like calling back to earlier movies and everything as well. So this is going to be, I think I'm going to say S tier for this one. Bottom of S tier. No, S tier should not be questioning. We're going to put it in top A tier. Spider-Man Homecoming. This one might be a little controversial. I don't think this is a particularly strong cameo or performance or whatever you want to call it. I mean, the guy's not an actor, so you can't hold it against him at all. But I don't know, just the way he's like talking with everybody and everything. I'm just like, I know you're going for that small kind of like neighborhood feel with Spider-Man and everything, and I do appreciate that. But I don't know, just overall, it doesn't work for me that well. But it's not so bad I want to put it in F tier or anything, but it's going to go in D for me. Thor Ragnarok, he's cutting hair with this crazy robot arm. It's, I don't know, a good one. This, to me, feels like one of the first times it's like, oh, wow, Stan Lee is really getting old. But no, he does great in the part still. And so I'm going to put this one in B tier. I'm going to go between Hulk and Fantastic Four 2. In Black Panther, Stan Lee is at the casino. He's not feeling very good about Martin Freeman's odds and everything. So he's wanting to keep his money pretty close to him. This one is, again, not much going on. It really felt like we had to put him in somewhere. And it's like, where do you put Stan Lee in Black Panther naturally, right? It's like, he's not going to show up in Wakanda. So I think this one's going to be another D tier for me. Stan Lee showing up in Venom at the end, seemingly knowing that like Eddie Brock and the symbiote are two separate beings, everything, it just leads to a lot of questions. Right? I'm like, who is he supposed to be? Does he know who they are? I know it's just like a kind of a throwaway, but I don't like walking away confused from these things. I don't know. Just don't think I'm going to be able to get it out of the D tier though. Avengers Infinity War. Stan Lee's driving Spider-Man school bus. Great line on this one. Good delivery. This one's goodness. I don't know if I could really go much higher than B tier with it, just because there's not much substance to it though. So I'm going to go right below Age of Ultron. Ant-Man and the Wasp. His car gets shrunk. He makes a good joke about going a little too hard in the 60s and paying for it now. I think this one's pretty funny. I don't think it's necessarily higher than B tier though. No, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go A tier on this one. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse gives us a cameo that was after Stan Lee had passed away. So it hit a little harder, especially in that theater when he's talking about how anybody can be Spider-Man, how everybody grows into it eventually. It's just a really good scene. It's funny. It adds to just like it only being something Stan Lee could say and have it, again, have the same weight that it does in the movie itself. It's just a great moment. This is easily an S tier one for me. I'm going to put it right after Spider-Man 3. In Captain Marvel, we get a real quick just shot of Stan Lee playing himself, reading the script for Mallrats, which he also has a cameo in, but I'm not including on this list just because it is a superhero movie. Also, I don't know, to say that it's a cameo in Mallrats is a bit of a stretch. He's got a minor part in that movie. But again, in this movie, it isn't much of like a scene at all. He smiles at her, she smiles at him. Oh, look, it's Stan Lee playing himself. That's going to be a C tier for me. It's a fun moment. It really is. Put it at the bottom of C tier though. In Avengers Endgame, we got Stan Lee making his final MCU appearance. He's driving, he's back in like what, the 70s, and so he's like make love, not war, yelling at the army base. It's nice to see him de-aged, looking younger. It's nice that it's not like super old, like sad looking Stan Lee. We get to remember him as like, peak Stan Lee. So that's really good. It's a funny one. Again, it's just a little tag in there. It's not important at all to the story. I think I'm gonna put that one in the C tier, but I'm at the very top of C tier. And now finishing it off with the only DC movie that I have on my tier list, Teen Titans Go to the Movies. It's a great way to kind of finish it all up, right? He's jumping on their golf cart as they're running away, saying that he doesn't care what kind of a movie it is. He just loves cameos. And we loved having him in cameos, and I greatly miss it. This is an A tier for me. I'm put it right above Ant-Man and the Wasp, but that is really kind of finishing out that tier list. Thanks so much for sticking around and watching this with me. Let me know what your favorite Stan Lee cameo is down in the comments below, and let me know if it's from a movie I didn't talk about. There are some that he's in that weren't comic book movies and everything. So again, appreciate you being here. Appreciate the people who are supporting the channel over on Patreon. You're more than welcome to go over and do that as well. But of course, no pressure with that. I would love it if you could like and maybe subscribe to the channel if you're interested in seeing more videos like this. I'll look forward to seeing you again next time. Until then, you take care.